Okay, then since we successfully validated the token from our server API, so let's get back to the front end, to our client. So let's go here. So this is the place where we need to validate that token, right? So what we need to do is, one second, we need to create an API. Okay, we need to create an API by using Axios. Then we need to call our API endpoint to validate our token. So that's what we're gonna do now. So let me minimize this. Let's keep it aside and let me make it full screen. Okay, so we need to import a package for this client app. Let's go to the client, make sure that you're inside the client, and then run the command called yarn add Axios. So this is the package which helps you to call the API endpoints from the front end. So I'm going to create a new folder inside the source folder, and I'm going to name that folder as API. Inside this API folder, I'm going to create a new file called index.js. So inside here, we're going to import the Axios first. Import Axios from Axios. Save the changes. Then what we need to do is we need to get that base URL. So I'm going to export that base URL because later we need to use this base URL for our Stripe payment. So I'm going to export this base URL is equals. We need to get that base URL. Basically, the base URL is inside our Postman. Let's go here. And from this to this app, this is our base URL. Copy that and paste it over here. This is our base URL. Later, once we deployed it in our Firebase Cloud Function, we need to just update this URL. So we don't need to change the entire coding for that. Save the changes. And now let's get back here and let me minimize the Postman app. All right. So here now what I need to do is I'm going to create a function export const validate user JWT token. This is a function. Here, this function is going to get a parameter that is nothing but our token, because we need to send it to the front end, right? Then I'm going to create a try and catch. Try and catch. If there is any error, so I'm just going to return it as null. While doing this, if there is any error, I'm going to return the user object as null. If it is validated, it's going to send the user object. Otherwise, it's going to return null. Fine. Now, what I need to do is const response. We'll get that response equals await Axios dot get method. The reason why we are using get, we have it as a get method only. Got it? Get method, and the API endpoint is going to be slash. We're gonna access our base URL. All right, so this will be processed. So right after here, I need to get that slash API slash users, because that is our user route, right? See here, because that's our user route, slash API slash user. Copy that and paste it over here. Then inside the user route, we are calling this JWT verification. So copy that. So this is our API route. So along with this, I'm gonna send the headers. To send the header, let's open an object. This is the configuration. Here, I'm going to use the headers object. Inside the headers object, I'm gonna call this authorization. Go to the Postman. I'm gonna call this authorization. Here, use this authorization object, and we're gonna send that token by using bearer space. Over here, I'm gonna append this token. So bearer and empty space. This empty space is must. Then only you can extract the token. Okay. Now we are sending this token by using bearer just to encrypt it. That's it. Okay. So now what we need to do, once this is successfully done, we're gonna return the data to the front end. Response dot data. So we are sending the data. We'll get the data. That means basically you will get this decoded value. Inside this decoded value, what we have two objects, success, and we have the data object. So I'm going to return that data object. I don't need that success. So I'll get that data. This is the response data, that basically the complete information, this is the response data. Inside that data object, we have this our own data object. I'm just going to return our own data object. That's it. Now this function is working fine. Now let's go here, and where is the login? This is the place where we got the token, and over here I'm going to call that verification, verify that token. So I'm just going to say validate JWT token. Make sure that is imported from your API and pass that token which you have in your hand over here. So now it will return a promise. If that promise have the data in its hand, then I'm just going to say console.log data, save the changes. Now if I click sign in, that will sign in. It will sign in with our Gmail. The token will be passed to our backend. Why login validated? I haven't printed this. What is happening? Let me stop the server. Let me restart it one more time. So it's loading. Fine, now it's loaded successfully. Let's sign in. Let's bring this email account one more time. And now here we go. The token is passed to our backend and it's successfully validated and it's returned back our data. So this is the data object that we are expecting. So it's having the authentication auth method, authenticated time, email, whether the email is verified or not, from where it is being identified, and then what is the name, picture. We have every single information about that user. So now we have this data. What we need to do is we need to store it in the React store. So before moving to the React store, we need to successfully finish our email authentication as well. So let's move to the email authentication. Let's exactly do the same steps what we did for the sign in with Gmail, and then we will move on to the Redux concept. All right, so let's move on to the next one.